Jim Sherwin, I think, is still alive as well, by the way. He was born in New York. He also became an international master. You can see here his USCF rating was 2447. He got his IM title in 1958. In 1961, he became chairman of the USCF Rules Committee. He was the American Chess Foundation president from 1979 to 1990. And October 25th, he just had his 90th birthday a few weeks ago. He was Manhattan Chess Club champion in 1954 and 55. He was the Eastern States Open champion in 1960. Professionally, Jim Sherwin was the executive vice president of the GAF Corporation. I'm not familiar with that group. E4, C5, another Sicilian, knight F3, E6, the French variation. Bobby with D3 here. So again, that sets up a King's Indian attack type of configuration. Knight C6, and sure enough, G3 was played. Knight F6 and Bishop G2, a setup we've seen Bobby play many, many times. Bishop E7, and both sides castle. Queen's knight to D2 is not the book move. Usually rook E1. And after rook E1, pawn D6, pawn C3, and bishop to D7. Bobby opting to go off book. Queen's knight D2. Rook B8 from Sherwin. More common is pawn D6 here. This is the most common move not liked by the bot. That's usually answered by rook E1, queen C7, pawn C3, pawn B6, pawn A3. The usual type of setup that we see, that we have already seen from Bobby Fischer. Coming back, though, rook B8 here. Bobby with rook E1. Now we still have D6 and C3, although at this juncture, A4 is the most common move. The point is, with this rook here, he's probably planning on pushing this pawn, so you discourage that, and he'll play B6 instead. E5 I thought would be interesting here. Gets a star. And after pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, rook takes knight, you're looking pretty good there. Let's go back. Bobby with pawn C3, pawn B6 here. Now pawn D4 and queen C7. Pawn E5. That knight comes to D5. That gets a question mark. Pawn takes pawn. And black is in Oklahoma. Okay. And I think white can take with either the pawn or the knight. Right? Force the knight back to D7 or D5. Point is you force the knight to move. Or you could take here. Probably black plays bishop B7 in that case. Well, you can see from the eval bar, this is showing equal. Let's go back. Sherwin with knight D5 right here. Bobby captures the D-man. Yes, C4 seems strong. Bishop takes the pawn. Knight E4. At some point, I would think that C4 is coming. Well, Sherwin thought so, so he played C4. Bishop A6 was my choice here, and the bot agrees. Well, knight takes the bishop, and I don't know. The bishop is awfully blunted. He doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. I might rather open this diagonal first and play knight D2, knight FD2. What that gets, it's not liked. Inaccurate. Well, Bobby gets a star. No surprise. Queen takes the knight. Knight G5. I still prefer knight D2 here. Bot preferring B3. Was still inaccurate. All right. Well, I give up. I'm not going to play knight D2 after all. Okay. Knight G5. Knight CE7. Yeah. The bot says punish him for playing knight G5. Queen C2. White really pushing here. And knight G6. H4, knight F6. pawn f6 being called for. And look at this sacrifice. Knight takes h7. That's accepted with knight takes knight. Now h5, ladles and jelly spoons. And look at this move. Knight h4. Oh, getting a star, no less. That is juicy. You don't want to play knight e7. On knight e7, see this piece relationship here? Boom. And then when you move your queen out of the way, bye-bye, rookie. I eat you like a cookie. Now, he still plays bishop f4 here. You do not want to grab this knight and allow bishop b7. But bishop f4 is still available. Queen d8. And here, you do not want to grab the rook. Bobby played pawn takes knight. Taking the rook will surely cause you to perish because knight takes the bishop. And after king takes the knight, bishop b7 check. Hello. So pretty clever attempt by Sherwin. Let's go back. And for that reason, he played pawn takes knight. Rook b7, pawn h6, and he'll push both those pawns right up here. And here, it's weaker to take the rook as well, by the way. Let's look at this line. It does get marked as inaccurate. This is funny. h6 here is marked as inaccurate, with queen e4 being preferred. But when I pointed out the weaker move, the bot says, no, you should have played h6. Fickle bot at it again. Well, why is that getting an inaccuracy? Well, because bishop takes bishop. And you have to f3 to obstruct that diagonal. And after queen takes h, you have to bring your queen over here and trade queens. But, of course, that leaves this pawn hanging. And this pawn is also vulnerable. Well, you can see this is pretty close to equal, isn't it? So resist those kinds of ideas. Make sure you identify the continuation before you go grabbing those juicy-looking peaches. Bobby with h6, which, if you take this, the bot tells you it's the best move. But here it says it's inaccurate. Fickle bot. Queen takes the h-man. Pawn takes the pawn on g7. King takes the pawn. Now rook d8 being indicated, which on rook d8 will play bishop g3 and hit the queen. Sherwin with king takes the pawn. Rook e4. Of course, bishop e5 check discovers the hit and wins the queen. So queen h5. So rook e3. Threatening rook h3, which is also going to be winning. In fact, there's hard to find a move that isn't winning. f5. e5 being called for. The thing about e5 is, why can't I just take it? f5 being played. But rook h3, queen e8, bishop e5 check, knight f6, queen d2, both these squares being attacked. In fact, queen h6 check followed by mate. So king f7 making for the refuge of these few pieces in the center. Queen g5, queen e7, bishop takes the knight, removing the defender of h5. Queen takes the bishop, rook h7. Oh, it's looking horrific. King e8, queen takes queen, rook takes, excuse me, he didn't play rook takes queen. Why didn't he play rook takes queen? He's lost either way, but he tried rook takes rook. Huh. I don't know, but he resigned after bishop c6 check, of course. If you interpose with your bishop or with your rook, queen takes e6 can be played with check. Bishop's pinned, so it can't take the queen. So the king would have to go to d8. Then I can pin the bishop again. If you throw in a check here, I'll just slip away. And if you try to break the pin here, now I'll go ahead and trade bishops. And queen c6 check. And soon I'll bring my rook over, and queen and rook against rook and rook is just winning all day long. So that is why Black resigned, and Bobby emerged the New Jersey Open winner.